basketball at its best.
No second chances.
Go hard or go home.
Show me what you got.
Make history or be history.
The National High School Basketball Championship, March 11th through 13th, live from Freeport Grand Bahama, only on Cabbage Road.
The opposition leader and the leader of the DNA arrive at court with supporters in tow as 9 bridge protesters are charged. The Deputy Prime Minister finally addresses the sale of the company that took over BEC operations. A man shot and killed just outside a local restaurant and bar. Plus, the College of the Bahamas gears up for its transition to a university. We've got those stories and a lot more coming up tonight. I'm Dana Smith, and MB12 starts right now. Residents flocked to the magistrate's court this morning to support those who were charged with obstruction, unlawful assault, and resisting arrest during protests at the foot of the Sir Sidney Poitier Bridge on Paradise Island last week. Democratic National Alliance leader Granville McCartney and Free National Movement leader Dr. Hubert Minnis showed up with their members in full support of those 9 defendants. Simone Davis was in court today and has the details in this report.
Blocked roads, more than 50 armed officers, and a flood of political supporters was the scene at Magistrates Court this morning as 10 protesters in the Cabbage Beach incident went into court to be arraigned. Our news team arrived at Magistrates Court shortly before 10 a.m. when the arraignment was set to begin. However, due to incomplete dockets and lack of documentation, the arraignment started an hour and a half later. 46-year-old Irvin Moxie, 26-year-old Miguel Joseph, 39-year-old Lincoln Bain, 50-year-old Francis Johnson, 58-year-old Derek Cox, 64-year-old Derek Thompson, 59-year-old Hubert McIntosh, 53-year-old Sam Butler, 44-year-old Trevor Lightbourne, and 23-year-old Gerald Saunders stood before Magistrate Joyanne Ferguson Pratt to face charges including obstruction, resisting arrest, and disorderly behavior. Moxie, represented by attorney and DNA leader Granville McCartney, was charged with 3 counts of unlawful assault, 3 counts of resisting arrest, and obstruction. However, according to McCartney, when Moxie went into the Paradise Island police station for questioning on Tuesday, he was not questioned in relation to the unlawful assault charges. While objecting to the request for his client to enter a plea, McCartney said he plans to file a lawsuit for malicious prosecution against his client and requested answers as to who filed the complaints. Derek Cox, Gerald Saunders, and Frances Johnson, the only female in the group, were represented by attorney Paul Moss, in charge with obstruction and disorderly behavior. Arguing that his clients were not aware of those charges, Moss explained that he and attorney Halston Moultrie sat in the interview room with them, and at no time were they arrested, questioned, or charged with disorderly behavior and obstruction. Miguel Joseph, Hubert McIntosh, Trevor Lightbourne, and Lincoln Bain were represented by attorney Donald Saunders and attorney Halston Moultrie. They were also charged with obstruction and disorderly behavior. Saunders also argued that those charges were never brought to the attention of his clients, and he also planned to take legal action for malicious prosecution. McCartney then requested that the defendants be given the opportunity to review their charges before being forced into entering a plea. Ferguson Pratt granted that request and adjourned the matter until later in the afternoon. During the adjournment outside court, F&M leader Dr. Hubert Minnis, backed by supporters including party chairman Michael Pintard and Senator Lanisha Roll, expressed his disappointment in the court and the government.
What you see here today, many people coming out to support vendors and taxi drivers who have been charged, especially for damaging offense. And entering the court today, other charges were brought forth that the men knew nothing about. And it was quite obvious that these are trumped-up charges. What it would appear is the Attorney General obviously needs to step in and nully this entire situation, because the Bahamian populace will no longer stand by and allow the government or allow the system to bring trumped-up charges on them.
Minnis also questioned why the officers seen kicking, slapping, punching, and dragging protesters in the videos were not penalized for their behavior. McCartney also noted that he was also disappointed in the way the courts handled the protesters.
This is a pure case of malicious prosecution against all defendants, from what I see. One attorney, Mr. Parker, Khalil Parker, described it as an ambush by the prosecution. But we all know what this is all about at the end of the day. The charges that's been brought against each and every one of the defendants is an intimidation tactic by the government of this country, the PLP.
Several protesters also shared that they were proud to be brought before the courts for defending their rights as Bahamian residents.
I feel honored to have been dragged before the courts to fight for the rights of Bahamian people. It is an honor to have been dragged before the courts fighting for rights.
It's heartwarming and to see Bahamians taking a stand for once and not just laying down and letting the government do whatever they want to do.
For too long, people sit back and allow this to happen. This is why Bahamians is now third-class citizen in their country. I'm saying to them, you have to unite and you got to fight for what is justice. The beach is a simple factor.
When court resumed nearly 3 hours later, the magistrate notified the court that a defendant did not necessarily need to come before the court knowing what the charges were, adding that a complaint was sufficient enough for the defendant to enter a plea. This led Moultrie to again question who filed the complaint. And after some debate, Ferguson Pratt explained that Commissioner of Police Ellison Greenslade filed complaints against the 10 protesters. The prosecution read the charges of obstruction, disorderly behavior, and damage. The stipulations were that on Tuesday, March 1st at Casino Drive, Paradise Island, the defendants assaulted Chief Superintendent Lemon Delaveau, Superintendent Philip Heinze, and Inspector Lloyd Roll. They were also charged with resisting arrest. The defendants were further charged with the destruction of the gate at Cabbage Beach the following day. All accused refused to enter any pleas. The court then recorded a not guilty plea. Protesters left the courtroom pleased with the magistrate's decision to grant them bail in the amount of $1,800 each. They were also ordered to return to court on April 20th for a status hearing. From the Magistrates Court for NB12, I'm Simone Davis.
2 weeks after PowerSecure was sold to Atlanta-based Southern Company, Deputy Prime Minister Philip Davis explained to NB12 today the effect that sale should have on Bahamas Power and Light, a subsidiary of the Bahamas Electricity Corporation. Davis, who also has ministerial responsibility for BPL, also gave an update on PowerSecure's business plan. Kyle Joaquin reports.
Not long after PowerSecure signed a management services agreement with the government, PowerSecure was sold, and that left many questioning where this would leave the state-owned power company. Well, today the Deputy Prime Minister spoke to that topic, and he said the government at least hopes that PowerSecure will live up to its end of the agreement. Just 2 weeks after PowerSecure signed that management services agreement with the government, PowerSecure was sold to Southern Company out of Atlanta for $431 million. But there were little to no answers as to how that would affect BPL or even the employees.
The acquisition by Southern, by Southern Power of PowerSecure is not impacting upon the management service agreement that we have with PowerSecure, and Southern Power is standing behind and has committed to ensure that all of the commitments made by PowerSecure would be honored going through.
Davis said, in fact, the government thinks the sale would actually provide more opportunities for growth of BPL. He said there's an agreement and government expects that to be carried out. The management services agreement is a 5-year one that could possibly see a bit of restructuring at BPL. But the government's main goal in that venture is to reduce the cost of electricity for consumers.
As indicated, that they will be ensuring and allowing PowerSecure to live up and to discharge the obligations to us.
But according to Davis, PowerSecure's business plan is still not complete.
It is substantially completed. There are just 1 or 2 tweaks because you recall over the last month or so the oil prices have been sort of on a roller coaster, and there's an issue of hedging, and we're just waiting to have the results of that, hopefully by tomorrow.
There is no telling if the business plan, once complete, would ever be made public. Davis explained that he's not sure if he'd be given permission to do so.
I will have to take advisement on that aspect of it because you must recall that Power Secure is a publicly traded company, and there are some rules and regulations insofar as the NASDAQ, them being listed publicly. So I will be taking advice on whether or what I could make public that will not cause them any issues with the SEC, the authorities in the United States.
When pressed for some sort of detail on what he knows so far about the business plan,
and I would not wish to do that now. Like I said, those are financial matters that will go to might have some consequence if disclosed by me of regard to the fact that, as I said before, they're a public listed company, and it because they're required to do certain filings with the authorities in the United States, and I think that before things are made public, things may have to be filed first. So I have to be careful on how I tread on that.
His comments come a day after BPL CEO Jeff Wallace tendered his resignation to take effect March 21st. The reasoning is said to be personal. But while Davis wouldn't comment on that, he did reiterate that government doesn't foresee any staff reductions in the near future.
But we don't anticipate, as I speak to you, any immediate streamlining of staff. We have been able to work out an arrangement where that may not happen, but there's still that further assessment. So within the immediate future, you can anticipate that there will be what was anticipated before will not be happening now.
Reporting for NB12, Kyle Joaquin.
Police were called to the scene of a fatal shooting in the Nassau Street area last night after residents heard multiple gunshots. Reports are that shortly after 9 p.m., the victim had just pulled up in front of a restaurant and bar located on Cambridge Lane and West Street when two men armed with handguns approached and shot him before fleeing on foot. The victim was pronounced dead at the scene.
Sometime around 9:55 p.m., patrolling officers, while in this general area, heard a number of shots being fired. They responded and met the lifeless body of a male, appeared to be in his mid-30s, early 40s, suffering from gunshot to the body. He was lying just to the side of the street near a vehicle. The only information we are working with at this time is that he had just pulled up and parked in front of this establishment when two individuals approached armed with handguns and fired a number of shots at him, resulting in him being shot. At this time, we're appealing to members of the public and persons living in the community who would have been in this area, heard anything, to please come forward to assist in advancing this investigation.
Police can confirm that the victim was being electronically monitored and is currently on bail for a serious crime. Police have not yet released the identity of the victim, but we are told that he is DeAndre Johnson, also known as Plugs and DeGreek. According to NASA Guardian records, this brings the murder count to 21 for the year. You're watching the best in Bahamian news. There's more when NB12 returns.